Good morning, guys. How are you, ladies and gentlemen? Good to see you all. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. Good to see you. All right. Let's see who's in the chat. Carl Co. What's up, buddy? We have Leo Lustig, Nerd Beast, my man Yeti. Good to see you. Steven Cicero, Dumpster Fire, Backwards Miner, Sloth Squatch. Good to see you all. Good to see you all. Duke Nukem, Kyle Rosa, my man. Nick V. Good to see you. Oh, I forgot to share my screen. Damn it. Give me a second. All right. It's been a rough morning. Good to see everybody. Crypto's a mess. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but man, it is just news after like beating a dead horse, same stuff. But either way, we're looking at Bitcoin 26,000, Ethereum 1748, XRP 50 cents, actually down 8.3%. Damn. Doge is only 6 cents, LTC $77, BNB a little under 250. Let's see, crypto bubbles over here on the day. Everything's actually CASP is up 3.3%. What's CASP at right now, price wise? 1 cent, almost 2 cents. Is that good or bad? I don't know. I don't pay attention to CASP, to be honest. But render's down 4.2%. That's kind of rough. Man. What's going on, Mr. TCTC? Good to see you, buddy. Your name is way too long. I would say that whole thing, but I feel like it would get lost. All right, let's see. Top 10 coins in crypto by market cap. As always, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tether, BNB, USD Coin, XRP, Lido Stake, Ether, Cardano, Dogecoin, and Tron is in 10th. Interesting. Tron actually jumped up a peg. Wow. Matic took a little bit of a shit, if I'm not mistaken. All right, let's see. Fear and Greed Index. We're looking at 46 in the fear section. Now, again, not financial advice, but you know, as they say, it's when people are fearful, it's time to be greedy. When people are greedy, it's time to be fearful. So that's kind of take that with a grain of salt as you will. Let's get into today's news. So, well, this is actually yesterday. So CNBC, they drop it like later on in the afternoon. So I end up grabbing it the day after. But I want to hear what the hell's going on in the space for the most part, right? So Crypto World, CNBC, let's listen to them. They're talking about Binance a little bit. Polygon falling the 1.5%. We just saw that they're just, you know, dropped down a peg on CoinGecko. So I want to catch up in life. If you guys have any questions, please let me know, and we'll go from there. Let's do it.
Today, Binance US tells a court that freezing its assets would put it out of business. Republican lawmakers introduced a bill to fire Gary Gensler. And Brett Quick from the Crypto Council for Innovation weighs in on the SEC's crackdown on crypto exchanges. Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Pippa Stevens. Digital currencies holding relatively steady after that weekend sell-off we told you about yesterday. Bitcoin's trading around the $26,000 level, and Ether is still trading around the $1,700 mark. Polygon's also on the move today, as another crypto exchange says it will delist the token. eToro announcing it will take Polygon off its platform on July 12th, along with Algorand, Decentraland, and Dash, due to the rapidly evolving regulatory landscape in the U.S. Okay, let's talk about the top stories. First up, Binance US says the SEC's attempt to freeze its assets would pretty much put the company out of business. A day after the SEC's lawsuit into claims that Binance operated an unregistered securities exchange and misled investors over risk controls, the agency asked a court to freeze the company's U.S. assets. It argued that the move was necessary to protect customer funds because Binance and Binance US had disregard for U.S. law and regulatory oversight. Now, Binance US said federal court approval of that request would be draconian and argued that it would effectively end its business. The company
that would end Binance if they froze the customer funds. That's kind of crazy.
Also said such a move would mostly hurt its customers. One other thing to point out in that filing, Binance's U.S. lawyers now include George Canelos, the former co-director of the SEC's Enforcement Division. And sticking with the SEC, House Republicans just introduced a bill to remove Chair Gary Gensler. Congressman Warren Davidson of Ohio, who's been a strong supporter of crypto, announced on Twitter that he filed the SEC Stabilization Act, which would restructure the agency by adding another commissioner and dividing work evenly. plus fire Gary Gensler in the process. House Majority Whip Tom Emmer helped introduce the bill, and in a statement, he said that American investors deserve, quote, clear and consistent oversight, not political gamesmanship.
This guy ripped Gary Gensler a new one. It was great.
We reached out to the SEC and a spokesperson declined to comment. Last, Hong Kong wants to lure Coinbase to the region amid all the uncertainty here in the States. Hong Kong Council member Johnny Ng tweeted that he offered an invitation to all digital asset trading operators, but called out Coinbase by name. That invitation comes after Hong Kong opened up its applications for licenses to operate in the region back on June 1st. And
this is crazy, actually. My screen just went black. What the hell? I need to change this cable. You guys can see it, but it like goes black on me. Anyways, Hong Kong, right? So they're inviting Coinbase to come over and, you know, be in exchange there. That's so crazy. That's so crazy to me.
Restructured its rules to lay out firm guidelines for what is and isn't allowed in the crypto space.
Wow, that's messed up.
All right, for our main story, we are sticking with crypto companies moving overseas.
But that's the problem. Like, that's what Gensler's doing. Or that's like this unclarity is pushing people overseas. And it's like, Hong Kong's not stupid, man. They're going to jump right on it. Jeez, that's crazy.
Crypto World's Talia Kaplan spoke with Brett Quick, the head of government affairs at the Crypto Council for Innovation, about the push from crypto companies to expand offshore or completely leave the U.S. market amid the SEC's heightened crackdown on the industry.
Did you just see that guy in the background?
Crypto companies to expand offshore or completely leave.
Oh shit, she's live right now?
The U.S. market amid the SEC's heightened crackdown on the industry.
So we saw some major headlines last week with the SEC charging crypto exchanges Binance and then Coinbase, alleging both failed to register as an exchange, broker-dealer, or clearing agency. The agency also charged the companies with selling unregistered securities. Now, the case against Binance, in that case, the SEC accused the exchange and its CEO of inflating trading volumes, diverting customer funds, and misleading customers. Do you think more crypto companies should be on alert now? What do you think the latest enforcement actions mean for the industry as a whole?
Well, unfortunately, Talia, we're seeing more regulation by enforcement, more of the same that we've been seeing for years now. You know, since 2013, the SEC has brought 127 enforcement actions against crypto companies, but they've yet to carry out a single formal rulemaking to provide clarity and reduce some of the ambiguity around how securities laws apply to digital assets and to exchanges like this. You know, you hit the nail on the head. Binance and Coinbase, of course, we saw these announcements, these headlines last week, but very different allegations and different complaints against the two companies. You know, Binance and CZ allegedly, you know, misled investors about the exchange's ability to really detect market manipulation and misused customer funds. So we're talking about two different cases, but certainly seeing more regulation by enforcement, which, you know, for CCI's perspective, we have long been, you know, advocating for a regulatory framework, which would create clarity and transparency in advance, because the reality is that what regulation by enforcement fails to do, it fails to protect consumers and investors. It fails to prevent potential bad actors from really taking advantage of interest in the space and accessing the marketplace. And then it fails to create, you know, clarity and transparency for the good actors in the space who want to grow and develop here in the United States and create jobs and, you know, ultimately economic growth associated with that.
It's so nuts that Binance actually, you know, said that they would literally put the company out of business if they put everything on pause. I don't understand it fully, to be honest. It's kind of crazy to think about. If they freeze that part of the business, why are you going to go under? I don't know.
What do you make of SEC Chair Gary Gensler's argument that most crypto assets, with the exception of Bitcoin, are securities and that they should be subject to securities laws? In fact, today documents tied to William Hinman, the former director of the SEC's Division of Corporation Finance, were released to the public in connection with the agency's lawsuit against Ripple. The documents reveal that in a 2018 speech, Hinman suggested that he didn't think Bitcoin and Ether were securities. What does this mean for Gensler's argument that most crypto assets are securities?
Well, you know, Chairman Gensler has been a little bit inconsistent on this. Certainly, he has acknowledged that Bitcoin is not a security in his view. In the case of Ether, he hasn't even been able to answer that. The last time he testified before Congress a few months ago, he was asked repeatedly if he believes Ether is a security, and he refused to answer. Which from
Actually, real quick, UK Miners Club said they will lose all trading fees just to kind of go against mine. He said, so the business will die. Huh, that's kind of interesting. Well, I mean, you know what? Actually, because they didn't separate the entities from the US and regular Binance, I wonder if that's the main reason, because it would freeze everything. It wouldn't just freeze the US or the .us entity. You know what I mean? Crazy.
From a regulator's perspective, that's a really hard thing to understand, that you have the chairman of the SEC who can't confirm or deny whether or not something is in fact a security. You know, unfortunately, what we're seeing with this current SEC is what seems to be a view that everything is a security, and therefore, should technically fit into the existing securities laws, even though the business models are not consistent with, laws that were created in many cases 90 years ago, that could not have contemplated the speed at which transactions can occur now, certainly did not account for the advent and use of the internet, and require a lot of intermediaries for custody, for clearing, for settlement, for order matching, things that blockchain technology make less necessary in the current structure. And those intermediaries, of course, were originally there in existing securities laws to mitigate risk, but the technology that we have now is really not consistent with the need for those. So what you start to assume is that really what Chairman Gensler supports is an effective ban on crypto, because the fundamental question is whether or not, we want to make accommodations in existing securities laws and regulation of digital assets so that companies can develop and prosper here in the United States, or if we want those companies to move overseas, where Chairman Gensler himself has acknowledged that it's much more difficult to regulate and to bring enforcement actions against offshore exchanges.
So expanding on that, EU lawmakers approved the world's first comprehensive framework for crypto regulation in April.
I'm sorry, I have to follow up on that. That was the stupidest thing I ever heard. Obviously, it's harder to control once they go overseas. You don't control them, Gary. Just saying. That's ridiculous. Ted, yeah, so Binance, they mentioned this actually, and this is why the lawsuit's so this is why they can go after CZ in that lawsuit. So CZ never properly separated Binance and Binance.us. So once they sued Binance.us and CZ personally, they have access to everything within Binance. So if they freeze one thing, it freezes everything for the entirety of Binance. Do you know what I mean? That's what they stated the other day, actually. But yeah, that was, I don't know, that's weird.
And just yesterday, crypto-friendly VC firm Andreessen Horowitz announced it's expanding outside the U.S. by opening a new office in the UK, citing the region's crypto regulation as the reason. Specifically, the managing partner of A16Z's crypto unit said the UK was working constructively with the industry and is still protecting consumers. Can we expect to see more companies expand overseas as Europe moves forward with its push for regulatory clarity? What does the US need to do to keep these firms here?
Sure. I think that's exactly what we should expect to see. We've seen Coinbase obtain a license in Bermuda. As you mentioned, A16Z setting up a London shop. What was really interesting is that you saw a statement from the Prime Minister in the UK that was really welcoming A16Z, embracing the industry, and sort of reaffirming the desire to make the UK a hub for Web3, which they've been, very clear that that's their goal. In the United States, we have a very different dynamic where we have an administration, unfortunately, and regulators who do not seem interested in creating a regulatory framework that is clear for companies to operate here. I think the latest numbers are that 70% of the top 30 exchanges, crypto exchanges in the world, all have licenses in foreign jurisdictions. So I think, unfortunately, we're going to start to see more companies think about where they should domicile in a place where they have some of this regulatory clarity.
Real quick, Crypto Frank, thanks for the 1999 super chat. Appreciate that.
First, love your show. Governments have no need to be involved in what we decide to invest in. They don't say anything about my Amex points and the value of those change daily, and I can buy points.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. It's a good point. Yeah, they the government wants to be involved in everything, man. And it's so, I mean, I get it to an extent, but like the amount of I I guess, force that Gary, right, or the SEC in general is trying to put on crypto, it's just so excessive that it's literally going to kill the industry in the US. But yeah, it's crazy. They want to tax everything, man. They want a piece. They need their cut out of literally every piece of your life. It's absurd. But again, thank you so much for the 1999 super chat. You didn't have to do that.
That they just unfortunately do not have here in the United States.
So in general, what do you think lawmakers here in the US need to focus on when it comes to crypto? What should be their top priority? And is it too late for the US to catch up to other parts of the world like Europe at this point?
Well, there's no question that the US is behind. We just discussed MiCA and the UK. There's other, Hong Kong, Australia. There's a lot of jurisdictions who are really working to embrace the technology and the innovation and the growth that comes with all of it.
Because
to say
they
nothing
see us
of China
dying.
and the things that they're doing to sort of exert soft power globally through the technology. So the US is definitely behind. I don't think it's too late. I think it's encouraging that we're seeing some really good faith efforts in Congress amongst lawmakers to really.
I also wonder, because Hong Kong actually specifically called out and invited Coinbase over to Hong Kong. That's I wonder how that's going to go over in the next couple of days, because I mean, we don't want to be the people that are stuck in the back. And once everybody catches wind of that inside like the house, right? I want to see what is actually said about that. I just feel like it's going to cause complete havoc, because we're in like this silent war with China where like they can't be ahead of us and we can't be ahead of them. It's ridiculous. But yeah, it's super interesting to see where that goes.
Thoughtfully put together comprehensive regulatory frameworks. Today we'll see a hearing on the market structure legislation that was released jointly by the House Financial Services Committee and House Agriculture Committee. So they're putting in the work. I think that, a comprehensive bill is complicated, and there are going to be pain points that come with that, and industry has to sort of understand that. But there needs to be clarity on what is a security, what is a commodity, what is something else. How can these companies, with their existing business models and the technology that underpins them, how can they register and be compliant with regulation? So I think those conversations are ongoing, but there's a lot of work to be done.
And that's going to do it. Thanks to CNBC News for that, or CNBC Television, rather. I want to show you guys this real quick. The SEC asks for more time to respond to Coinbase call for crypto clarity. This was 11 hours ago. I actually ran across this, and I was kind of surprised. I thought this ship has sailed where they just said no. So it says the securities regulator says it would make a recommendation within 120 days rather on Coinbase's rulemaking request, but adds that the action has no merit. So why even respond if it doesn't matter at the end of the day? The United States security regulator has asked for 4 more months to provide a response to Coinbase's request for crypto regulatory clarity. Now, if they cannot state what the actual regulatory clarity is now, and they need 4 months to prepare for that, something's really wrong, if I must say. Like, that is there's no reason they need 4 months. What do you need 4 months to respond to what the rules are? Like, you should already know this. If you're able to bring forth lawsuits against companies, suing companies and destroying livelihoods, you don't know the rules already? Why do you need 120 more days, 4 months to get that across, to give an answer? It drives me nuts, but I'm not even going to read this. If you guys want to read this, I'll put this in the live chat and in the description below, but feel free to go check that out over on Cointelegraph. I want to get into Mr. Altcoin Daily's video. I checked it. I didn't see any shills in it today. It says why the crypto market is about to go wild, and he actually goes over a lot of this stuff, which is kind of neat. The whole Gensler naming, he specifically named like Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, Bitcoin, and there was one other one. I think it was 4 coins he named that weren't securities. And then he kind of points out how he couldn't answer if Ethereum was a security or not. It's ridiculous. So let's see what this is all about. Shout out to Altcoin Daily for this video. Let's do it.
I get very concerned about the government trying to usurp digital currencies because they not only have an interest in being the monopoly player in currency, but also because these central bank digital currencies can become a method of tracking, of finding out what you're doing, where you're spending your money.
Absolutely.
That makes me very nervous, and I see what Gensler doing as a strong step.
Yeah, he's finally started to say the silent part out loud.
If you hold cryptocurrency, this may shock you. This is SEC Chair Gary Gensler, before he was chair, at a 2018 Bloomberg conference in New York, educating the masses that Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and Bitcoin Cash are not securities.
Over 70% of the crypto market is Bitcoin, Ether, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash.
There it is. Those four. Bitcoin, Ether, Litecoin, and Bitcoin Cash. Hold on, my daughter's calling me.
Why did I name those four? They're not securities.
Why did I name those four? They're not securities. They're not securities.
Wow. Yet in 2023, today,
I'm asking about one.
The public is anticipating a profit based on the...
I'm asking a specific question, Chair Gensler. I said this in private.
This
should be no shock to you. I'm asking this question. Is Ether a commodity or a security?
And again, it depends on the facts and the law, and if there's a group of individuals...
I'm asking about the facts and the law sitting in your seat and the judgment you are making.
And so, Mr. Chair, I think you would not want me to prejudge because I'm also...
But you have prejudged on this. You've taken 50 enforcement actions. We're finding out as we go, as you file suit, as people get Wells notices on what is a security in your view, in your agency's view. I'm asking you a very simple question about the second largest digital asset. What is your view?
And my view is if there's a group of individuals in the middle...
Now, luckily, as of this
he is such a goddamn moron. This music's so loud. I apologize, guys.
week, there's an official movement in Congress to fire Gary Gensler. But today, the latest CPI data just got released. Inflation rose at a 4% annual rate in May, the lowest in 2 years. And even though headline inflation is still at 4%, even though core CPI data is still at 5.3, this is still much, much lower from what we've seen. And as US inflation appears to be slowing, this eases pressure on the Fed meeting tomorrow.
We got a strong core print today.
It was a good report.
This is a step in the right direction.
Overall, inflation continues to come down.
Inflation is coming down.
The Fed has to be pretty happy with these numbers.
And certainly it takes away some of the pressure for the Fed.
That should buy them more time to keep watching the data.
I would vote for wait and watch.
It doesn't look like they're going to need to hike this week.
The skip is priced in. That makes a lot of sense.
Definitely a skip. That's already been communicated.
So now that the latest CPI data was positive, breaking. The Fed rate futures now show a 100% chance of no interest rate hike at tomorrow's Fed meeting. So after 10 consecutive rate hikes in a row, it's now 100% projected that the Fed will pause this month. However, there is still a 65% chance of a 25 basis point interest rate hike in July. And in terms of what the market is projecting, only one interest rate hike cut is currently expected for the entire 2023. Meaning markets long term have actually gotten more bearish. Because keep in mind, just 3 weeks ago, futures were showing 3 rate hike cuts in 2023. Furthermore, no more interest rate hikes were expected. And if you're asking why, here is the head of equity strategy at Wells Fargo explaining the current state of the market and interest rates.
You can't say mission accomplished. The Fed still has to do more. And if you look at the Fed, we're looking at a situation where we haven't broken the economy, right? The job market's still incredibly strong. Inflation is stubbornly sticky, and they're talking about a pause. We really do think they need to do more, and more may be holding on, but more may be more interest rate hikes as we go forward in time. Things, if you told me that Fed funds were going to be above 5% and the economy would be doing what it's doing right now, I'm not sure I would have believed you.
And so for the Fed right now, even as much as they are continuing to do their inflation busting,
but really the inflation side, they're talking about 2%. And I think 2% is really aspirational. Can they get it down further? Yeah, I do think they can get it down further, maybe with time, but really I think they need to do more on the interest rate side. And I'm a little bit surprised that they're pausing at this point in time, because again, if you had the equity market up 10%, the economy where it is, the job market is strong, I wouldn't expect the Fed to be pausing. But you're right. They signal that. I should expect this pause. We should all expect that. And let's just watch the numbers and see what happens.
Yeah, they don't like surprising the market, as we know. I mean, and they're allowing sort of this percolation, right, of the rates to make their way through the markets, I guess.
And with the stock market, the S&P 500 doing very well year to date. What is now the expectation going forward?
How do we predict what happens next?
It's a great question. So let me be incredibly transparent. We're at 4,200, so the market's above where we expected it to be. That was our year-end price target. We're very surprised we got here this quickly. And then when we look at the underlying fundamentals, they really don't justify this kind of sharp move up. A lot of it, as you know, is AI and AI related. A lot of it is positioning. And so as we look forward in time, we think it's a period where you should expect to see some sort of pullback. Nothing goes up in a straight line. And so at this point, a lot of my peers have gone from bearish to bullish. Sentiment has really risen. We're going to start looking at 2Q numbers in the second half, and things aren't great. So sooner or later, we should have some sort of pullback.
Now, if you hold crypto, there is some good news. Binance is officially fighting back, as well as today, the XRP price jumped as the Hinman documents were finally released. For a beginner's guide on what are the Hinman documents, seek out this video. Big week for crypto due to this.
You know, I didn't watch that one with you guys, actually.
It's now explained by the chief legal officer at Ripple. It's been about 5 years since Bill Hinman gave his infamous speech speaking about Ethereum.
On June 14, 2018, then SEC Director of Corporation Finance William Hinman gave a high-profile speech where he declared that a token is not a security when it becomes, quote, sufficiently decentralized.
Oh, wow.
So what was now uncovered with the release of these additional Hinman documents? And keep in mind, Ripple Labs was always excited about this release, as Ripple claims Hinman's remarks at the time mean XRP should not be considered a security as well. Like Ethereum, XRP should be off the hook. And we now see, with the release of these Hinman documents, we can now all see that Hinman ignored multiple warnings that his speech contained made-up analysis with no basis in law.
But internal emails and documents show that senior SEC officials repeatedly warned Hinman that his speech wasn't true to the law and would greatly confuse the markets even more than they already were. Now, after more than 2 years and 7 court orders, we can finally share some of what we found in the Hinman speech documents. The SEC head of trading and markets warned Hinman that he was making up factors that, quote, go beyond the typical Howey analysis, as in not in the law, and that the speech could lead to not just confusion, but greater confusion on what is a security. Hinman ignored him.
If the network on which the token or coin is to function is sufficiently decentralized, and the purchasers no longer have a reasonable expectation that a person or a group is going to carry out essential managerial or entrepreneurial efforts, those assets might not represent an investment contract.
On June 4th, Hinman wrote that he didn't see a, quote, need to regulate Ether as a security, and set up a call with Ethereum's co-founder Vitalik Buterin later that week to, quote, confirm our understanding. On June 11th, the SEC's own general counsel advised against including any direct statement about Ether in the speech because it would be difficult for the SEC to, quote, take a different position on Ether in the future. The next day, Trading and Markets wrote that the statements about Ether were, quote, likely to create more confusion. But Hinman went ahead with the speech anyway.
What else is new?
And the SEC, despite knowing all this, touted the speech repeatedly. The SEC chairman himself pointed market participants to the speech.
Bill Hinman recently outlined the approach we take to evaluate whether a digital asset is a security, and I encourage you to take a look at Bill's speech, which is available on our website.
The SEC knew the speech didn't follow the law. The SEC knew the speech would create greater confusion, and the SEC knew Hinman was making things up. So why?
Let's fucking post it anyways.
Is the Hinman speech still on the SEC's website?
Oh my God.
Why was it ever allowed to be given at all?
That's so stupid.
And why has the SEC pushed a policy of regulation by enforcement, falsely insisting the rules are clear?
Hashtag free Gary, is that what we're doing now? Because maybe it's not his fault. No, I'm just kidding.
An investigation must be conducted to understand what or who influenced Hinman why conflicts, or at very least appearances of conflicts, were ignored, and why the SEC touted the speech so much, knowing that it would create greater confusion. Be sure to like the video if you got.
Shout out to Altcoin Daily for that. Awesome. Yeah, that was a really good video, actually. The music that they're using now is kind of strange, to be honest. But anyways, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. You guys are all awesome. I got to get out of here, unfortunately. Daddy duty calls. Got to go make sure my son's up because my wife already left for work. So hopefully you guys have a good, happy Wednesday. I don't know if I'll be streaming later on today. Probably not. But usually we do the audit Wednesdays with, you know, a couple new coins. My man Yeti, we scan them for viruses, make sure they're safe, and just kind of go over like a few things about coins that we don't typically look into. But today I don't think I'll have time. I have to go do some cleaning out at my rental property, so it's gonna be a very I guess long day, right? It's been a long week actually, so I probably yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen today, and probably not the rest of the week, but we'll see. Maybe tomorrow and Friday I'll come live in the afternoon. But hopefully you guys have a good day. I appreciate you all for hanging out with me. Again, have a happy hump day, and I'll see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning either way. Have a good day. Peace out.